This is ChangeMakers with Katie Gore, finding the right solutions for the affordable housing community.
This week's ChangeMaker is Carol Jones-Gilbert, the Chief Executive Officer of the Palm Beach County Housing Authority. Carol is an experienced housing professional with a demonstrated history of working in the real estate industry. Under Carol's leadership, the Palm Beach County Housing Authority has been working hard to expand affordable housing options for the residents of Palm Beach County. This includes exciting new developments. So, Carol, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Katie. Thank you so much for having me.
Carol, as you know, I like to start the podcast by hearing how people got into the industry and their road into affordable housing. Can you share yours?
My early career, I think everything that I've always done has been in public service. Even in college, I worked in nursing homes, as a social services director, and working in the social services department. And so from working, that was, assisted living housing. And then from there, I started working with disabilities rights advocates and working with a company that advocated for the rights of children with disabilities in schools and for persons in, mental health institutions or state hospitals. And from there was when I made my first journey into the kind of public housing world. I started with the Dallas Housing Authority. And at that time, I didn't even know what public housing was. It was not a term that was familiar to me. And so I came from a little town in Oklahoma, Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and we didn't call our housing public housing or projects, so it was really unfamiliar to me. So I started with the Dallas Housing Authority as a property manager. From there, I've been in pretty much this space since that time. From Dallas, I moved to Denver and worked in multifamily housing for Wheaton Franciscan Ministries. And, we had housing there. And then from there, I went to Richmond and worked for the Richmond Redevelopment and Housing Authority. And then finally landed in my current position at Palm Beach County Housing Authority.
That's a very impressive journey. And I like how you got started with really serving people, because no matter what the regulations are having you do, that really boils it down, doesn't it?
Yes, it's people-centered. I have a passion for people. And so everything that I've ever done, whether it's in, like I did some substitute teaching at one time. And so I was working with young people and worked at children's kinder care. I remember being a 3 and 4 year old classroom teacher in high school, so there's always been serving people in my background. And that's my passion, because I know that at the heart, that's the work that God would have me to do.
You and I were just on a panel speaking a couple of weeks ago, and you were sharing some of your executive wisdom of how you train your staff and how you really empower your staff. And just in the description of where you've been in your career, that's really come through that you've learned a lot, and you're kind of in this unique position where you get to share. And what is it that you typically tell your staff when they approach serving people? Like, how do you influence how they shape their approach?
I think I tell them that people that come to us oftentimes are dealing with some of the most frustrating issues and then some of the most challenging times in their life. And one thing I always tell them, it doesn't cost anything to be kind. Sometimes people come to us and they have been beat down by life, and we should not contribute to that. I am someone who was formerly homeless, so I know what it feels like not to have a key to turn in a door. Our motto here is we open doors, but our motto for our staff is you are the key. And so I am the key to opening doors, and that's doors not just to housing, but to possibilities, to opportunities, to people, to partners. And so I'm like, it doesn't cost us anything to be kind, and so that's my motto, is to serve people with kindness, with respect, and because everyone deserves that. So I try to model that for my team, and I want them to model that for the people that come to Palm Beach County Housing Authority.
Have you shared some of your early housing journey on a larger national platform?
Yeah, really. I haven't. I've been involved with, just attending conferences. The only thing I can say is my son and I were homeless in Richmond, and we were on the brochure of the shelter that we stayed in twice, and so that was circulated, throughout the area. And a lot of people told me, well, why would you agree to be on the brochure, of a shelter showing that you were homeless? And I was like, because that has made me who I am today. That is a critical part of my journey and my appreciation for the work that housing authorities do in providing affordable housing. Housing is just a basic right. And I think when you don't have that, you understand more than anything how critical that is to the success and just the health of your family. And so I haven't shared it on a national platform, but I share every time. I'm not ashamed of that experience. I'm not ashamed of having been in that space, because I said that's a part of the journey. My son, who is 32, says that has made him the man that he is today. That experience, he said, because I see the homeless. He said it is so easy to exist in this world and not notice them, to really just overlook them. He said, but that experience, he said, I think has given me a compassion towards seeing people who are experiencing homelessness.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and your authenticity is really shining through. And it's such a superpower of yours, because not only do you have the career and the experience and the wisdom from lessons learned, but you really understand this component of housing instability. So I can make assumptions that's also what is the drive for you to make sure that you guys are delivering stellar affordable housing options and really pushing the limits on new developments.
Yes, because I'm like, I tell my staff, we need to work with a sense of urgency. If you were the person on the other end of that voucher, on the other end of that public housing unit, how would you want someone to work for you if you were in a shelter or if you were homeless? What urgency would you want someone to give to that situation? I think that's key, that we have to be mindful that we are, people are waiting on us, and we should be diligently making sure that we're calculating everything correctly, because these are people's lives, and these are their families and the services that we provide. I'm always saying we need to look for ways to be creative. And so we're exploring building housing using shipping containers or modular steel building, because we're like, the speed to market and how we can bring units to market so much quicker than traditional stick build. We have to, in this time of affordable housing crisis, we've got to get creative. We've got to think outside the box. We can't continue to do what we've always done and expect a different result. So how do we get creative and explore what are those new construction models that will allow us to build units quicker? We looked at one using kind of like a building block structure or 3D printing. There's all kind of innovation out there that we have to take advantage of and explore so that we can serve more families.
That mother of necessity and that huge drive for the need to supply more housing, that's really opened up a lot of people's thinking, because they maybe wouldn't have considered shipping containers, or they wouldn't have considered modular or manufacturing or these other models. But right now, housing authorities, developers, everybody is really, really exploring innovative and alternative models. How did you get started thinking about shipping containers? Walk us through some of those decision processes.
Well, the idea was brought to us, and, we were like, this is different, and so we looked at, how do you take something that can be delivered to you almost 95% complete, and this one it would be multi-story. We've seen shipping containers used in residential for like single family homes, but taking that approach and applying it to multifamily housing. And so we were excited about the opportunity to do kind of a proof of pilot to show that it could be done. With innovation comes challenges. Anytime you try something new, you're going to run into obstacles, you're going to run into challenges, but we are continuing to press forward. We want to deliver a product that rivals any market rate unit, that has smart technology built into the unit so that our families can be equipped for, to conquer the digital divide. And so we're looking at, how do we use this? Is this a viable construction model that we can replicate on a larger scale? But we want to see, with this proof of pilot, we're going to build 48 units. There'll be 24 one-bedrooms and 24 two-bedrooms.
And then how has your community embraced this concept? Can you give us any generalizations? Are people skeptical? Are they excited? What's the momentum here surrounding this?
It's been a little bit of both. There's been some excitement. There's been some skepticism, but I think people have come around to the way of thinking and seeing this approach used in various, cities. I know we had someone at our county say, well, I visited Amsterdam and they had a large shipping container, facility. So I think we have been able to overcome some of those challenges. I think, one of the comments that we got when we first put this project out was that, we were using low-income people as lab rats. And that really offended me, because I'm like, I would not give anyone anything that I wouldn't live in. I have family. My brother lives in public housing. So I'm always cognizant of the fact that we need to provide housing that you yourself would be okay living in, that you would not be ashamed to live in. So I would never experiment with low income people. We want to deliver a quality product, that they can be proud to call home. And so there's been, like I said, I think we've overcome the naysayers in just the renderings that we were able to show, the quality of the products that we're trying to bring. But innovation, is not always received. And so it has been some obstacles that we've had to overcome. It's not going to look like your standard shipping container. It's not going to be the width of a standard shipping container. We're not trying to put people in a metal box. We're trying to give people a home that's fortified and safe and beautiful.
Being a pioneer is never easy, is it?
It is not.
There's something really artsy and efficient, even from a land use or from a space, and real sustainable concepts with this shipping container, though. But it's a learning process, I'm sure, for the community and for people who are interested.
There is, but like I said, if we're going to get through this affordable housing crisis, it's going to require us to be innovative. It's going to require us to think outside the box. It's going to require us to embrace, new and change, because we can't just keep going in the path that we've been going.
Right. We even had a previous podcast guest who did 3D printing of homes. And, the amazing technology and the offerings that we have today, you would never have guessed even 8 years ago that would have even been in the conversation. So pushing forward is a must in what has to happen here for the lives of those 48 people who are going to be in those units. And let's just talk it for scale here. Let's just talk about the cost of living in Palm Beach County. What are you guys facing? Not just beyond how accessible it is, but let's just talk about some of the costs and some of the demands.
It is, the term got phrased during COVID, priced out of paradise. And basically it's talking about how much the rents escalated here in Palm Beach County. We are currently using 120% of the fair market rent for our payment standard. And that's not enough at times. Families are often searching for anywhere from 6 to 10 months looking for an affordable unit, even at the 120% of the fair market rents. The average home price here has topped $600,000. So I recently was looking for a home, and I'm like, and if I'm struggling to find an affordable home as a CEO of a housing authority, how much more so would that impact the IHOP worker, the Walmart worker, the fast food, the people that don't make, a high income. It's very expensive to live here. I mean, we did something where we are trying to bring all of our employees to a living wage. And so we raised salaries. We took people to a baseline salary. We're incrementally trying to raise them to a living wage because you should not work at a housing authority and be homeless. We had a young lady that was living in her car with her 1-year-old child. And I'm like, how do you work at a housing authority? How can I expect you to give good customer service if you are experiencing the same challenges, of the people that you're dealing with? You don't have a place to call home. So what we said is for these shipping container units that we would allocate a number of those units for our employees if they needed housing, because we're like, we have a responsibility to serve those that I've got to serve my family so they can serve our families.
Exactly. And just hearing you describe the economic situation compared to the amount of rent, it's not something that is going to fix itself. The market isn't going to recalibrate, quite frankly. And so you're going to have to, and this is where government does, a really good job. They're going to have to come to the table and close some of this gap here related to affordable housing.
They're going to have to, because like you said, it's not like the market is going to automatically correct and we're going to see rents drop down to more affordable levels. We've been at 120% of the fair market rent for the last 3 years, because we took the waivers during COVID and we continue to request the waiver because if not, our families won't be able to be housed. And it's still a challenge for them.
When you opened the waiting list the last time, how many applications did you get?
We opened our wait list in June of 2022, and we received 19,000 applications, and we closed it in December. My ultimate goal when we opened it was that I was going to just leave it open permanently, because I'm like, how else can I demonstrate the incredible amount of need, but to manage all of that from an internal aspect, I'm like, it's hard to manage a wait list of that size. So we know that there's an incredible amount of need. Even with our wait list closed, every day I get anywhere from 10 to 15 emails from people, help, I'm living in my car, I'm being evicted tomorrow, so we know that the need is still there. But how we got to be able to handle it, and we got to have a multitude of options. It's not going to be just housing authorities. It's not going to be just private developers. We've all got to work together to solve this.
19,000 people needing affordable housing. It is staggering, isn't it?
Staggering.
All right. Well, we're going to get into that and how you're helping all of those folks in the second part of our chat. Coming up next time on ChangeMakers, Carol Jones-Gilbert, the CEO of the Palm Beach County Housing Authority, will discuss the importance of embracing supportive services.
I tell my team, we have a responsibility to love our families, not just house them. And we want them to be successful. We want them to have what they need to get to that measure of self-sufficiency and what that looks like for each family. It's not the same for everyone.
Thanks for listening to ChangeMakers with Katie Gore. To find out more about Katie, go to quadel.com. That's QUADEL.com. This has been a production of Forbes Books Radio.